All right, Dr. Stone, see, episode 1 recap, go. Uh, we meet Senku Uzuri. Well, we meet Senku and Taiju. They're high school students. Senku's chilling at a science lab making some weird, probably space drone robot thing. I have thoughts about when exactly this particular scene takes place, and I'm sure if people are good at math, they can figure it out. But I'm pretty sure that the show takes place a little bit further than 2021 when it first starts, but we only spend about 2 minutes there before something weird happens. But first, in this scene, we see that Taiju is this really kind of dumb high school kid, and his best friend Senku is a goddamn sociopath that almost gave his friend fucking gasoline to drink. But you see that they have a really close bond because Senku not only knows that Taiju won't drink it, that he's actually going to just completely get rid of it. And even the other high school students, like, in a science lab, a bunch of high school students think that this insane kid can make a love potion. And I think that that's also an important thing to keep in mind. It seems like a dumb, stupid high school student would believe in a love potion, but like, even the scientific kids are like, oh, like, oh, the bunch of the big brain science AP kids aren't just going to believe that someone can make a love potion like they do. I think that that really pushes forward that there's more to this Senku psychopath character. But we see Taiju go meet our third protagonist, Yuzuriha. She's a really cute little girl, and she is outside of a tree, and Taiju is going to go confess his love to her. And then something happens, and the whole world gets turned to stone for a real, real, real long time. We wake up 3,700 years in the future, and Taiju has woken up, and as the main character of the show, clearly he continues throughout the world, finds Yuzuriha still trapped in stone by the same tree that he left her in. Apparently it's some really insane tree that grows in Japan, and they just grow and grow and grow for hundreds of years. And this tree protected Yuzuriha so that she didn't get broken or fractured in her stone state. And when he finds the tree, he finds a note for him to go find this other psychopath, Senku. And we find Senku has made clothes in a shelter, and he somehow has E equals MC squared written on his jacket, which is, weird. Especially because we find out he is not some master craftsman. He knows how everything works. He's very scientifically minded, and he's very pushed to get the world back to the state of science and progress that he was living in by the time he dies, or maybe even by the time he's ready to retire in comfort in that world. And they go through the process, and they kind of talk about how each of them woke up. Senku thinks he has a way to wake up some other people, but first they need to do some survival. There's a montage that goes on for an entire year while they try out different processes and refinements of this etching agent that he makes called Nidal, which he goes through and explains how to make this stuff. And then by the end of the episode, they free some of the sparrows that had been turned to stone. And that's basically what happens in the episode. What I liked, the whole thing, I love this episode. Sometimes it takes, almost always it takes several episodes for me to really get hooked into an anime. But I remember watching this episode for the first time, and just the first montage of time progressing is really good, and then Senku the character really just gets me fired up, because I at one point in my life wanted to really go into scientific research and doing certain things. And part of the research that I wanted to get into had to do with either creating alternate fuel sources to what we're using, or finding ways to elongate the use of those fuel sources. And part of the things that I was looking at was how gasoline works. And after staring at gasoline particles or gasoline molecules for about 2 years in high school, I, for one reason or another, looked at the molecule for plastic, and I saw that it is the same thing, but just elongated, and I think it has a little bit of variation, but it's basically just the exact same particle, but just stretched out to a different point. And that's Senku's first line. Not his first line, but it's his character introduction, is when all of the high school students are looking at him like, oh, you can make a love potion? He says, no, I just refined this gasoline, and I made it out of just plastic bottle caps that I'd been collecting from people. And that really hit me hard, because this is a character after my own heart. And he says that he saw it just by looking at them. And, like, I'm not going to say that I did that. I memorized what a gasoline molecule looked like back at that time. It was part of my brain. It was infused into me. That it's not like I knew what a bunch of different molecules looked like. I knew what the one looked like, and then I saw that plastic looked almost identical but stretched out more. This dude just has them floating around in his brain. And then at one point when they first meet up, he gives Taiju the specific date, the day that it is. And Taiju asks him, how do you know the exact time? And he says, I counted. And that really hit me different, because that lets you know that, oh, this guy is supernatural. Like, he seems to be just a crazy, insane, smart human, like pushing the limits of even human genius. And I like that. I think that it makes it reasonable that someone like that could get humanity back into the state that it could have been under this guy's purview. I also like how they're already building into how Taiju and Senku are really good friends, and they're having fun even in this post-apocalyptic world, because they have this hopeful dream of saving it, and they have the togetherness of each other that even through a year going by, they're not being disheartened, because they have their friendship, they have people to rely upon, they can expand their purview of what the world is while also clawing back what used to be. And both of them have very good characterization, and I love it. I also like how Senku goes into the different mushrooms and whether they're poisonous or not, because all of everything in Dr. Stone is more or less visually accurate to things in our world. And all of the processes that it goes through are things that humans have done and can do to do what happens in this anime. Maybe not to the crazy effect that a cartoon can portray, but you can do anything in this show yourself. And as someone who thinks of themselves as very scientifically minded, it really lights a fire under my ass to be like, yo, I want to, brew my own alcohol. I want to, I don't know, I want to learn all of the different plants in my yard, and how, if any of them are, any of the weeds are harvestable, what berries are good to eat, and that's just something that I enjoy doing, understanding about the world, and having a character who focuses on understanding and learning being important. It's just cool. I like having that as the main character as opposed to the meathead. But Senku's not the main character yet. We're not there. Taiju's still the main character. Shh, don't tell anyone. Senku's the real main character of the show. Alright, what I didn't like. I don't know. Not much. It's a good show. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot that I can say bad about this part of uh, this show. I heart everything about Doctor Stone. I like. This is not what I like about it. I'm not gonna go into how cute Yuzuriha is or how cute Taiju is either, because I think Taiju's pretty cute too. Um, I don't know, man. There's really not much that I don't like about this. I'm trying to think back to the first time I watched it, and there wasn't much I didn't like about then. Like I guess I'm frustrated. I don't know what turns everything to stone, but I but that's the whole point of the mystery. Like, it's the whole driving force. If I knew exactly what happened, yeah, like, frustration is not the show being bad. This is me being frustrated at the show being good, and the show wanted me to be frustrated by this, and it's doing an excellent job at it. So it's not a bad aspect of the show. There's there's not much. So episode 2 coming up. Episode 2 not coming up. I forgot to do the post what we didn't like gush. So, first I want to say that I did finally remember something that I don't like about the first few episodes. What in the world are Azuria's earmuffs, and why aren't they over her ears? I do not get it. I don't know if that's supposed to be some like cat ears thing that she took the cat ears off of. She just has this weird headband. I don't know if its purpose is to keep her hair in place or what, but throughout the entire show, I don't know what they are, and they're indestructible because they don't get turned to stone, but then they're still on her when Taiju finds her statue, and he's like, oh, I could recognize you anywhere, and that's because of her indestructible earmuffs that no one else in the world has. Of course you can recognize her. She is the most amazing piece of clothing in the world, and no one talks about it. I feel like Senku would just be like, what in the world is this made out of? And then he would have to go and make shields out of it for him and everyone, and then all of a sudden they have an unstoppable army fighting force. Alright, rant over. Other things that I like, more spoilerific things, is that I love, love, love the intro and outros to these early episodes. If you, for whatever reason, aren't watching the show along with this, and you've never seen Dr. Stone, do yourself a favor, look up the intros and outros to the different seasons. They're beautiful. The songs are worth listening to. It's just really, really, really good way to start and end each of the episodes, especially because there's always some big macro shot of the world, like whether it's a huge expansive horizon or literally just dead ass the world hanging in space. And those are really cool setups because we get a ton of those shots later on in the show. And once those start showing up, it really, since you've been seeing these same macro shots, and it's mostly of something that was the same, barring a few exceptions, which I'll get to there, it is so, so, so important that once you get to the bit of the show, once there's a bunch of these macro shots of the Earth, that it feels tied into what you're watching, because the actual actions and events and timeline of things, you can feel very detached from it, but with just that one bit of camera work, we'll say, it really feels like you're still watching the same show, and I like how they set that up in this way. All right, now, episode 2 coming soon.